Great. Well, welcome to our Impactful Projects and Planning Microtraining series. I'm Jamie Yazdani. In today's session, we'll talk about including, engaging, and managing your project's stakeholders. So who are we talking about when we say project stakeholders? When you think about a project stakeholders, we often think first about decision makers. This could be your organizational leadership, the project sponsor or funder, or the project's initiators. We also usually think about the users or clients. So whoever is going to be using whatever it is that our project is creating. We may also think about our colleagues, whether it's other staff that will be involved with the project or project partners like vendors, volunteers, or other organizations that we may rely on during the project or once our outcomes are implemented. We may even think about our project team, the primary group of folks who will be accomplishing the project's tasks. Put simply, our project stakeholders are those who will be involved in or impacted by our project. So those involved in implementing the project or the project's deliverables, and those who will be impacted by the project itself or the project's outcomes. So how do we successfully manage our project stakeholders? One primary way is through our project communications, which we're going to talk about in our next microtraining scheduled for July 20th. Beyond communication, though, I've got 3 tips I want to share today for including, engaging, and managing your project stakeholders. First, I strongly encourage you to think broadly and inclusively about who is a project stakeholder. When considering our project stakeholders, there is a tendency to narrow that list of who is involved and impacted down to the barest minimum, often to the handful of folks who are the most helpful or will move the project along quickly, or to the few folks we can ignore, the folks who will be the loudest or who carry a lot of authority or political weight. While I understand this tendency, especially in resource-limited, mission-driven organizations, I find that it's an approach that is never as useful as we think it will be. The folks we don't include now often show up later in our project, delaying or detracting us, or they appear after the project is completed as folks who are unsatisfied with our project's outcomes. A great many projects in mission-driven organizations are change management projects. We are introducing some new program to our core users or community, or a new tool or way of working to our staff or volunteers. Our projects are creating change, and for our outcomes to be impactful, we need to create buy-in across a broad spectrum of stakeholders. So thinking broadly and inclusively is going to be critical to the success of our project. And even if our project isn't creating great change, it still likely requires the support of a larger group of folks than our project team. Our project team may be small and full of people who will take on the vast majority of the tasks, but there's often a point at which our project needs support from outside of our team, from admins or finance staff, from vendors or the IT or marketing teams. These folks are stakeholders too, and their lack of support or a delay in completing their only task can delay our entire project. Whom we consider a project stakeholder and include at some level in our project impacts our project decisions and outcomes. So we want to think broadly and inclusively about who is a stakeholder. Our goal with broadly and inclusively considering who is a stakeholder is so that we can document our stakeholders. In practice, our stakeholders may be a group or an individual. So a stakeholder might be Jose, who manages our volunteers, or it might be our team of volunteer coordinators. Regardless, we should be documenting our project stakeholders. let's consider an initial list of project stakeholders for a project to create a new program. So this program is going to be grant funded. So we identify our funder and organizational leadership as stakeholders. Both groups have set requirements for the program and will need updates on our progress. We've also identified the core users of our program and our project team. Now, a broader, more inclusive list would also include the staff who will be implementing the program and the volunteers who will support it. Maybe there's a technology tool the program will use. So our IT team is a stakeholder. And we will be making some purchases using those grant funds. So our finance staff also need to be involved. And at a later part of the project, when we want to market our new program, we will likely need to include the marketing team. Again, who will be involved or impacted by our project? Clearly identify and document those people so that they stay front of mind in project planning and communication. Now, even though I'm encouraging you to identify and document all project stakeholders, this doesn't mean that you need to expand your project team or your project meetings to include every individual or someone from every group. You don't need to find a conference room to fit 20 or 30 or 40 people. Not all stakeholders need an equal role in or equal input to the project, but we do want to make sure we are considering all stakeholders so that our project is well planned and more successful. So after we've identified our stakeholders, we assign them roles. Project roles are how we ensure we are engaging the right people at the right time. Again, not every stakeholder needs to play an equal role in the project or have equal input. A stakeholder's role may be quite limited or limited to a single phase, task, or feedback point. The roles of stakeholders assigned are going to vary depending on the project, but I find it useful to think about what they need to do or know. Do they need to make decisions or complete tasks? Do they need to get progress updates or reports? Or will they provide the project team with information or feedback? Will they need to test what the project creates, or will they be implementing or using it once it's created? What does the stakeholder need to do during or after the project? Or what do they know or need to know to make the project and the project's outcomes successful? Again, these roles can be minor or limited to one point or moment in the project. In impactful projects, the project manager acts as an influencer. They understand who the right people are and when and how to use them. They find out who has the necessary knowledge, skills, and authority to accomplish project tasks, but they also know who needs to be swayed to move the project along and who may pose problems if not managed or kept informed. Great project managers don't just create achievable plans and monitor progress. They engage with the project stakeholders to create buy-in and gather the support necessary to get things done. They engage the right people at the right time and the right ways, which sometimes means having difficult conversations, gathering and acting on feedback, and anticipating challenges. Great project managers are influencers, moving people and their projects forward. So those are a few tips on managing project stakeholders. By broadly and inclusively identifying our stakeholders, documenting them so that they are not forgotten, and assigning them even minor roles, we can lead more successful projects. Project stakeholders are one of my 5 key elements of impactful project management, along with scope, outcomes or deliverables, schedule, and communications. A focus on stakeholders can greatly impact your project's success, especially for mission-driven organizations. Together, these 5 elements can help us plan our projects, create a more collaborative project environment, and strategically deliver successful project outcomes. To learn more about leading impactful projects, you can download our 5 key elements worksheet. This free download of our simple worksheet is a great start to project planning and is available at yazdaniconsulting.com resources. If you need more support leading projects and teams, visit our project solutions page at yazdaniconsulting.com projects to learn about what we can offer. Great. So I'm happy to take any questions you have about project stakeholders. Please do add them in the comments. I'm going to give folks a few moments to type out their questions. If I'm not able to answer your question live, I'm happy to respond later in the comments. You can find all of the ways to contact me at yazdaniconsulting.com contact. There you can schedule a time to talk with me about your project stakeholders. Okay, so a question I often get is how much engagement is too much or too little? So I said today that a stakeholder's role can be quite minor, but what that looks like will depend on the project and your organization. Many folks aren't engaging enough with all of their stakeholders, leaving out groups that are necessary to move the project forward or who are going to be using the project outcomes. I often hear from nonprofit folks that they didn't engage enough with other staff or volunteers in planning their projects, only to find that those folks needed to complete a task, but their availability conflicts with the project schedule. Or they find that a project process doesn't work well with a stakeholder process. But I also hear from folks on the other end of the spectrum. Their projects can't move forward because their project teams are too large. Every stakeholder is asked for feedback at every phase of the project, and their projects are stuck or take way too long. So there really is a balance that needs to be achieved. We're going to talk more about communications next time, but I think stakeholder engagement planning and communication planning really go hand in hand. So in terms of engagement, instead of planning one monthly project meeting that includes everyone impacted by the project, create different feedback points and varying levels of engagement or progress updates appropriate to the different roles and types of stakeholders. This may seem like a lot more work, especially for the project manager, but I think that upfront planning for engagement saves time and energy once the project is underway. Okay, so feel free to comment or reach out and message me with any additional questions. And thank you for participating in our impactful projects and planning micro training series. Visit yazdaniconsulting.com IPP to view all of the sessions in the series and learn about upcoming micro trainings. Thank you.